I want to talk about my experience with rip-off artists. I've built arguably one of, if not the biggest fitness business, education, coaching businesses on the planet. And I want to share my experiences for every entrepreneur listening to this of how I've dealt with rip-off artists, probably being the most copied fitness business coach in the world. And also what to do and what not to do in business, along with some major life lessons that are going to make you a better human, better entrepreneur, and ultimately increase your longevity in this game. You know, most business owners fail within 3 to 5 years of setting up their business. There's a massive difference between having one huge month and having consistent, high quality, high profit months throughout the course of the time that you are in business, and then using that money to build the life that you want. And there are a lot of threats out there to entrepreneurs. One, in their own behavior and how they take shortcuts, but two, in terms of how other people try to take them down, position them, and all that kind of stuff. So here's a bunch of lessons, and I'm going to share these one by one. Number one, the bigger you get, you have to face a fact. You're going to become a target. If you are the best in your industry, if you are the best in your game, if you're the most talented, the most skilled, the most successful, here's exactly what's going to happen. If you just start in a market, you've got around about 3 years before your clients start to try and do what you do, your team members break away and try to do what you do, and other competitors come into the market. And what was once a blue ocean, i.e. where nobody was fishing, becomes a red ocean where everybody's fighting for the same business. And the challenge with that is that when a marketplace is a certain size, so for example, if you're just serving customers in a certain country or a certain sector, the only way to get new clients as more competition comes in is to steal business from other people. And that is where you then enter into the realms of other people positioning against you. Hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Try my new way, buy my shit. Or, hey, they did this, we do this, buy our stuff. That's essentially what the majority of people in tight, compressed, red ocean markets do. They try to deposition somebody else and they try to position themselves as the new shiny object. And for most entrepreneurs, they love new and shiny. Did you know that chasing new and shiny is usually down to a lack of depth and meaning with what you're currently doing? And new and shiny raises hope and excitement to take your eyes off the most boring stuff that's ultimately going to grow your business. So, important lesson: shiny object, new stuff all the time. Great way to market, but as a business owner, anything that's new and shiny is typically just new and shiny, and it is grounded off the principles of growing a business. So accept that fact. You become a target the bigger you are. Number two, you get rewarded for sharing your truth. So think of all the things that make you unique: the way that you speak, your hobbies, your interests, your style. People relate to your style before they relate to the thing that you're selling. And in a world of social media where so many people are afraid of being disliked and being criticized and being called out, what happens is you get conformity. And conformity is when everybody's trying to do the same thing day in, day out. They market the same, they look the same, their graphic designs are the same. Heck, I could show you like 5 competitors in the marketplace right now in my niche that have very similar branding, very similar colors. I even had one of my team members actually send me a screenshot of another coach in the industry, which was an ex-client of mine, going, was this guy speaking at the last event? I couldn't tell the difference. And here's the thing. When you first start out in business, you will have inspiration, you will have role models, and you will model them. You will model how they speak, you will model some of their systems, some of their tools, some of their IP. That's fine to get you started. But eventually you find your own voice. But unfortunately, very few people do the inner work to actually find their own voice, build the courage to express it. And what happens is that they just fit in to what everyone else is doing. and they don't appear different. And when they don't appear different, guess what? They turn into a commodity. And your goal in business is not to be liked by everyone. Your goal is to divide and conquer people. And if you can be yourself, then you're going to be authentic. When you're authentic, people feel safe around you. And your success in business is in direct correlation to how safe you make people feel. The safer you make people feel, the more likely they are going to buy from you and buy again and again and again and again and again. So being yourself is very important. It's a skill. It requires a lot of courage, because when you put yourself out there on the internet, there are always going to be an equal amount of people that love you and an equal amount of people that don't love you. But one thing that's really got me through that is knowing that anytime that I create a piece of content on the internet just like this, it's an aspect of me. It's not me. I control the frame. It's like a piece of art. I could put a piece of art up on a wall and I could go, that's awesome, or I could go, that's terrible. It's totally subjective. So I remove my identity from the content, and I realize that these are just little pieces of art. And that's a great way to look at life, look at business, look at social media, look at creating, because ultimately, those that produce get rewarded. Those that consume also get rewarded in a way. But you never want to be on the other end of always consuming and not producing, because you get rich whenever you produce. And if you're consuming this right now, I hope that you take something from it, use it to create value in your life and produce, and, well, get a massive reward out of it. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to this channel and you run a business, you're definitely going to leave money on the table. You're definitely going to slow yourself down, because I have the scars on my back, the lessons, the experience that I really want to share with all of you to make you better business owners. And I do that twice a week. I'm sharing stuff that isn't commonly available on YouTube. I practice what I preach. I live what I preach. And I want this channel to make you rich. And I want you to mention me in your speech before you die. That's the agenda. Pretty simple. What else can I share with you? When it comes to modeling success and knowing who to invest in, the internet is a strange place. I have been in the internet game for a long time. I have worked with clients that have massive followings that don't make any money. I have worked with individuals that look like their life is perfect on social media, but it's really not. People buy fake likes to look like they're popular, to look like they've got status, but they don't. People rent cars, rent villas, stand in front of stuff to create the perception that life is good and that they're successful. Other people buy into that because these villas, houses, cars are symbolic of what they want. I've shot an advert with my Ferrari. The advert frame is actually like, hey, this isn't what you want. This was on my vision board as a young child. I've now got it. What you actually want is money, impact, and freedom to do the things that you want. You don't just want a car, because you'll get bored with it. So I have used things that I own in my marketing. I haven't rented them. I have used things that I own. And I've used that to get the attention of people to start following me, consume my content, but most importantly, to get them into my world. It's just like whenever we sell six-pack abs in fitness. Six-pack abs isn't really what people want. They want the confidence. They want the self-love, the self-respect to be able to love themselves no matter what happens to them in life, and to not require the validation of other people. But sometimes you need to get people in with what they think they want, whether that's a car, whether that's a six-pack abs, etc. There's a lot of depth to my work. I've been coaching, in the fitness niche for a very long period of time. And the real meaning of my work is to get people into my world and help them make a lot of money, to make them eventually realize that that's not what they were seeking. Because when you make a shit ton of money, more money than you ever thought possible, and you thought that that was the key to your freedom, you then start asking the deeper questions around life when you realize that the money hasn't fulfilled you. So you will commonly hear people that say that when they made their first million, they go, and now what? Is that it? It was massively underwhelming. And that is when people begin to look within and people begin to do the real work. And whenever you do the real work, then you can build something really solid. When you know that all your actions aren't driven by fear of going broke or not being good enough, you realize that happiness is an internal job. No matter what goes on in the world, you control your inner frame, you control your inner dialogue, you control how you communicate with yourself. You control your thoughts, whether you're going to accept them as truth or whether you're going to look at them as passing traffic. And in a world of social media where everybody is sharing highlight reels, notice the word highlight reels, it is very easy to become distorted and think, I'm seeing all this good stuff all the time. I'm not seeing any real life challenges or problems, which is distorting me to think that everything should have upside. And if you really want to master life and you really want to master the game, you will understand and know that you can't have a lot of money without having no money. You can't have happiness without being sad. You can't have upside without being downside. And the challenge is that everybody looks at life through the lens of, if I'm rich, I'm going to be happy. You can't be rich without being poor. You can't be happy without being sad. Happiness and sadness are one and the same. Rich and poor are one and the same. So when you begin to look at the downsides in your life as, this is part and the same of the thing that I want the upside in. So if your business is currently challenged right now, are you the only business owner in the world that gets challenged? Really? You think the challenges inside Amazon and all the biggest companies in the world are smaller than yours? No, they're not. They experience far bigger challenges. You can't have a great business without having a shit business. You can't have a healthy business without having an unhealthy business. You can't have support without challenge. So look at things in a non-dual way rather than dividing them up as all successful, all failure. And look at content on social media. Look at people and ask yourself, what am I not seeing? In fact, what I've found is that individuals who posture the most are the ones that have the biggest voids on the other side of their posturing. So you always want to look for somebody in content that is sharing their vulnerable aspects, their vulnerable sides. I have been broke before. I have been overdrawn before. I have had my health taken away from me. I have experienced relationship challenges. I have experienced business challenges. I have thought about wanting to give up. I have struggled with my energy on a daily basis. I have experienced all of that. I talk about this regularly. And I'm a firm believer in communicating both sides, because if you don't communicate both sides, then you set people up for unrealistic expectations that ultimately just drive sadness and permanent depression. So be careful of what you look at. Be careful of what you consume. I don't know who said the quote. I think it was James Clear. But I'm probably going to bastardize the quote here. But be careful who you follow on social media, because you're choosing what to think about. And I have always been a producer rather than a consumer. I spend very little time consuming social media. The stuff that I do consume is stuff that raises my consciousness, raises my energy, inspires me, and most importantly, grounds me. And I just really want you guys to be careful. Copying somebody else's business. I recently had a guy that copied my stuff word for word. His name was Charlie Johnson, renowned clown scam artist in the fitness industry. If you've any experience in business or a strong instinct, you could go onto his Instagram profile and within 5 to 10 seconds, you'll pretty much clock on exactly what I'm saying. And he copied a post of mine word for word. And this is somebody that's, in this, just merged into the same field as mine. Lo and behold, has been at events of mine before, wanted to become a private client, which I gladly turned down. And he copied a post word for word, which tells me that one, he doesn't have the creativity to come up with it. Two, he's too tired and stressed to think of his own content. And three, if he's going to blame it on a team member, that he doesn't have any culture or decision-making guidelines for his team to, go ahead with something, which tells you a lot about the finer details of somebody's business. Always, you can read a lot from the surface. And just the sheer risk of doing that, the niche that I'm in is very small. I've pretty much mentored everybody. I've mentored the most successful people in our world, and for somebody to copy that blatantly like that, the upside to that is minimal, like zero. The downside is gigantic. And whenever I called him out, I had a ton of other people that called him out on top of that and came on top of what I said. And they said that I'm glad that I did it. But it called out somebody for a behavior that they repetitively do. They're renowned for plagiarizing and copying, and they were put in their place. And again, that's kind of like, stand up for your truth. If somebody fucks with your business, stand up and defend it. Just on that, two tiny lessons that I really want to share with you, that there were mistakes and flaws in my thinking, is I never shared about my success until recently. I had a Ferrari when I was like 30 years of age. I only started sharing it when I was like 33. And I always was afraid of people looking at me going, why does he have that? He doesn't deserve to have that. I didn't feel worthy of it, basically. I also didn't want to get attacked. I didn't want to get robbed. And I was also kind of doing it strategically in business because I didn't want people like looking at me and copying my stuff, even though it did happen. But when I had a couple of colleagues around to my house, industry peers, that they had an event, they came around here afterwards. And they saw the life that I was living behind closed doors. All of them asked to become private clients within 48 hours of coming. And that's because they saw something that they aspired to have. Why does he have this and I don't have it? It excited them. So one, I realized that showing off the stuff that was me, that was my identity, that my success, my wins, my trophies was actually an important aspect of marketing. But two, calling people out on the internet is something that I never did before. I just couldn't have been bothered with the noise. I think there's a fine line between overdoing it and not doing it. And I decided to call this guy out that copied word for word. And it brought me a lot of attention. A lot of people said they were glad that I did it. And it really made them realize that I was calling out complete and utter BS in the industry. It's one of the main pain points in our industry is you get people that, pop up selling you the dream and they don't do it. And so many clients reached out, team members of his, ex-team members of his reached out, and they said, I'm glad you did that. So speaking your truth is important. People want to be around a leader, and a leader speaks their truth. I didn't do it before because I thought it was noise. Those of you that know me in business will know I'm straight down the middle, and literally I'm relatively not concerned with what people think about me. I'm relentless in my delivery and calling stuff out behind the scenes, but when it came to the internet, I just didn't bother because the vector to be attacked, the vector to be criticized or trolled was too large, and there was no ROI in it. It wasn't really worth my time. But finding things that were, threats to my business or somebody disrespecting me, and I could put a very clear name on it, was something that I needed to do. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm making a point now of doing it anytime I see it. So stand up for your truth. People will feel safe around you. And on the last point, if you see somebody that's built a business that you really like, or built a life that you really like that you like on the outside, whilst asking yourself the question, what am I not seeing? Because if you just think it's all upside, then you're going to be set up for disappointment. Is realizing that if you copy somebody, that you'll end up building a business that suited them, not necessarily you. So just be mindful of what you're copying. Look at the upsides, look at the downsides. And when I say copying, I also talk about modeling. Like, what are you modeling but making better? Because there's nothing wrong with looking at somebody that's done something really well, even written something well, done a piece of work, and going, hey, here's their point of view, here's my point of view, and here's why I think it's better. But just be mindful of copying something from somebody else or modeling something from somebody else, and then coming to a point and realizing, going, I've just built somebody else's business for me because I didn't ask the questions of upsides, downsides, can I live with the downsides? Very, very, very important. Anyway, last but not least, if you want to work with someone in a coaching capacity, or if you want to look for role models in life, the best role models are the individuals that have got everything boxed off. Not just money, not just business. They have got their health dialed in, they've got their money dialed in, they've got their relationships dialed in, they've got their business dialed in, they've got their spiritual quest dialed in, they've got their social circle dialed in. The reason why you want to learn from those people is because it's so easy to go and be amazing at making money. It's so easy to be amazing at having a great family. It's so easy to be amazing at being in shape. But if that's all you're good at, you're pretty redundant and useless. So we all know somebody that's a great family man, but shit businessman. We all know somebody that's incredible shit, but skint. We all know somebody that is a really nice person, but just isn't a go-getter in life. So you want to find somebody that's got as maximum success in all areas versus one area. And that's not to say that you can blend people that have got success in one area, but usually the role models that have got the well-rounded success are the ones that have had to make decisions to balance it all out and ultimately win at life. Winning at life is not being super rich. Winning at life is not having a great physique. Winning at life is not being super spiritual. Winning at life is not being a great family man or a family woman. Winning at life is not being a great friend. Winning at life is fucking all of it. So that's very hard to do, but that should be your mission. The challenges in front of you right now in the areas that you know you need to level up on are your calling, are your mission. And you define what success looks like in those areas. And remember that before I go. Is success is an inner game. You set the rules. You're playing your own game. You're not playing anybody else's game. And you set the rules. So play it and play it well. I'd love to know what stood out for you the most. Comment below what you're going to commit to over the next year. What are you going to integrate? What are you going to learn? And if you got value from this and you think somebody else could, share it with them, because I'm trying to grow this channel. It's hard work doing these videos every single week, but I really hope that they speak to you, and I need feedback from you guys to know that they're good. So lots of love from me. Click like and subscribe, and I'll be launching a pretty cool video next week, which you'll want to watch. Chat soon.